Presents live for the 24th season. It's the Professional Bowlers Tour. Today, for stop number 13, we're in the beautiful city on the Chesapeake Bay of Baltimore, whose modern-day resurgence can be seen in its renovated Inner Harbor area. In our field today, we'll start with our number 5 bowler in his first championship round appearance of the year from South St. Paul, Minnesota, Charlie Tapp. In our opening match, he'll face a player who has a second and third place finish. He's from Pompano Beach, Florida, Hook and Bob Handley. The winner of that match will meet the number 3 seeded bowler looking for his second PBA title from Beaumont, Texas, Mark Williams. The number 2 bowler has 2 PBA titles, but needs a win today to requalify for the Firestone from Colorado Springs, Henry Gonzalez. The tournament leader won last week's event in Milwaukee. If he wins today, he'll be 1985's top money winner. From Indianapolis, Wayne Webb. And the scene of the competition, of course, indoors, is the Fairlanes Woodlawn Bowling Establishment. And it's the 14th year that we have come to this sports-minded city. Today, the finals of the $130,000 Fairlanes Open. Yes, we are live. The winner today will receive a check for $20,000. We immediately go to the action. And the man that finished number 5 out of a field of 160 is Charlie Tapp, 33-year-old, 6'5" professional from St. Paul. And what a way to open things here this afternoon. Charlie Tapp's opponent is Hook and Bob Handley, as we call him, and I'm Chris Schenkel, and my colleague Nelson Burton Jr. We welcome you to this telecast. We expect a lot of action.
Should be good, Chris. 15 and 16, the championship pair, some experienced players in there, and 2 players that have to qualify for the Firestone. One Charlie Tapp, but here's Hook and Bob. First shot.
Didn't hook quite as much as he would like the ball to do, but he'll have only 1 pin. Is that going to be a tough shot for him, Bo, with his big hook?
The 2 pin, not too much, Chris. The great improvement that Bob Handley has made in the last 4 or 5 years on the Professional Bowlers Tour is his spare-making ability. He cuts that hook down and throws the ball hard and straight.
And last year, right here in the Baltimore area, he was 5th, so he'd like to improve today. Replay of the last stroke.
Bob Handley, you have to watch this style. When he gets to the top of his backswing, you see where all this power emanates. Look at how his wrist is cocked. Now watch him drive down through the shot with that pivot step right there, and then hit the foul line. Such a blur. The tremendous revolution he gets on the bowling ball.
Nice on the left lane of this pair.
16 revs, Chris.
Absolutely beautiful shot by Bob Handley, now bowling out of Pompano Beach, Florida. There's the purse breakdown. 20 to the winner, 11,000. Runner-up, 75, 6. The loser of this first match will get a check for $5,000. Here's a man with 1 PBA victory in Seattle, Charlie Tapp. That didn't come up, and he's left with the 1, 2, 10. Interesting.
The characteristic of the championship pair is showing up here. The ball slides by the head pin for Charlie Tapp. He leaves the 1, 2, 10 or washout. Once again, remind the bowling fans that it is not a split, even though the pins are separated, if the head pin remains standing. A split is only registered when the head pin is down and the 2 pins are separated. Charlie should knock the head pin over into the 10-pin area to convert the spare.
And he's left with an open frame, shaking his head back and forth. He's a tough competitor. Profile view.
Charlie Tapp, at 6'5" tall, has an ideal style. He gets the ball shoulder level, not too high. Now watch this step, this pivot step, as he comes on down through the shot. It's the most important. See him rotate onto the tip of his toe, drive down through the shot, foot perpendicular to the foul line. And once again, the championship pair, 15 and 16 here at Fairlanes, 48-lane bowling center. The left-hand lane, 15, hooks quite a bit more than 16, as evidenced by Charlie Tapp's 2 shots. He crossed over in the first frame, came up light on the right-hand lane in the second frame.
Charlie Tapp, who won the Seattle Open in 1983, and in doing so defeated Wayne Webb for the title. And Wayne Webb today is our tournament leader, as he won 4 games last week to win the Light Open in Milwaukee. Wayne Webb. Charlie gets a re-rack on the left lane, and his opponent, Bob Hanley, just sort of breezing the situation, trying to remain cool and relaxed.
Charlie actually took a double re-rack. He's allowed 3 in each game that he bowls in the championship round. He took 2 of them here in the 3rd frame.
What a beautiful hit by Charlie Tapp. He's still shaking his head negatively. Speaking of hits, now there is a great daily double on today's ABC's Wide World of Sports. One of the greatest fighters I've ever seen, junior welterweight champion Donald Curry, moving up in weight, though, today against a toughie.
Weight should make a difference. Green is tough. Hard Rock Green.
And as Bob Hanley has trouble with the 1-2-8, the second part of Wide World today, international pairs figure skating. All the beauty, along with all the great action of boxing. That follows our telecast as we're originating in Baltimore today.
You see the ball of Bob Hanley there on the right-hand lane, lane 16. Nobody has gotten up to the head pin yet. Hanley just barely nicked it in the 1st frame, missed it in the 3rd. Charlie Tapp missed the head pin on the right-hand lane in the 2nd frame.
Bob Hanley, 3rd championship round appearance this year. With True Value, who finished 2nd to Ted Hanna's. Came back and placed 3rd in the PBA National Championship in Toledo. Pretty good money earned, Bo, over $40,000. This is our 13th week of 1985.
Hanley's been in contention many times. He is an excellent player, and actually, even though he's a little older than many of the players out here, Bob Hanley being 32 years old, he's really coming into his own. He's maturing late, and he's going to get better each year.
Gets a break, leaving a wobbly 7-pin.
Well, it looks like it's going to be a long day for the players. Nobody's even been close. Hanley was somewhat close in the 2nd frame when he hit solid on the left-hand lane. Once again, we'll talk a little bit more about the championship pair and the changes that have been made on this particular pair over the last 4 years. Hanley for the spare.
So with the spare, we have an 11-pin difference with Hanley in the lead over Charlie Tapp. We're going to take this break. We'll return with more action in our first game live from Baltimore. Speaking of impressive trophies, from top to bottom, this Fairlanes trophy is 5 feet 5 inches in height. Our tournament leader, Wayne Webb, is 5 feet 5. What a daily double pair they would be walking out of this bowling center.
Charlie Tapp taking that intermission we just had to collect his thoughts. It's just like a timeout in a basketball game or a football game. Tapp had a few good breaks the first 3 frames. He crossed over in the 1st and 3rd, had to wash out in the 2nd. Took advantage of that Brooklyn strike in the 3rd frame, doubled in the 4th. Now he trails Hanley by just 1 pin.
Tapp of South St. Paul, Minnesota. Likeable guy. Speaks his mind up front, very honest. And Bob Hanley, a little more on the quiet side. Kansas State University graduate, taught history in high school. Been on the tour, though, and loves every minute of it. Clearing the deck. Earlier we asked Bob Hanley. He talked about his 0-9 record on television.
Sometimes I've beat myself on TV. Then other times my opponents have bowled extremely high scores at me. And hopefully today maybe I can put it all together, keep my concentration, and come away with a victory.
Chris, that 0-9 is just in his last 9 performances. As you recall, about 3 years back, he got on a hot streak where he made the championship round 4 consecutive times, starting at the Firestone. And he has won a number of titles, but the last 9 times out, he hasn't walked away with the #1 paycheck. Trails by 9, a double would put him in the lead.
All but the 10-pin. You saw him on our 23rd year of television, 6 appearances last year without a win.
The solid 10-pin. The bowlers are bowling against 3-pound 6-ounce and 3-pound 7-ounce pins. Hanley just drove the 6 right up over the top of the 10. A bad break, an easy spare.
Very close first match. The winner to meet Beaumont, Texas professional Mark Williams, whom you've seen on television before, very tough. Then Henry Gonzalez, then our tournament leader, Wayne Webb. Here's a man that leads by 9, can increase it as he has a 3-bagger up. He too is left with a 10.
The reciprocity of this game. Charlie Tapp got a number of good breaks. All of a sudden, when he really throws the ball nice, he drives in the 1-3. The ball takes out the 5 and 9, but the 6 went flying around the 10 pin. That would have given him a commanding lead. But what happened, Chris? The machine has raked off the 10 pin. We saw it standing, and once again, the machine can't initiate pinfall, so we have to call back to the back center. We have 2 people back there working as mechanics when we're on the air. They will respot the 10 pin. This is not being counted as one of Charlie's re-racks. He's already taken his 3 re-racks, so he is not. Look at the machine is out of cycle, Chris. A bowling machine is on a 2-cycle cam, and right now it's on the first ball cycle, and it continues to stay on there. So we have a little bit of a problem.
That's what we call a stubborn machine.
The championship pair, 15 and 16. First place, lane 16. The best shot is outside, around the first arrow. You see Charlie Tapp playing that line. Now on the left-hand lane, lane 15 over here, the 16 being on the right, he's playing the inside line, playing between the 2nd and 3rd arrows because the lane hooks much more in the pine area. So that's the way to play the championship pair today. 15 and 16, Tapp is ready.
With the help of a human, the machine has the 10 pin there. Cross lane. Show you how close that was.
There's a thin plastic coating on bowling pins today, and Charlie uses every bit of that plastic coating. Just nicks it. Of course, we've always said that all you have to do on spares is touch the pins. They'll go over. On strikes, you need some power.
Of course, there are monitors throughout this Fairlane Center in Baltimore, and the audience here got to see the replay along with you, and a lot of ohs and ahs. Charlie is wearing a wireless microphone, and that was his voice you heard and his deep exhaling.
Charlie hits right in the nose, the 1, 2, 3 zone, cuts through and knocks out 7 pins, but leaves the 6, 7, 10 split. What Charlie has to do, as the graph shows, is get the ball over in a position right in front of the 10 pin, slide the 6 pin over into the 10. If he doesn't convert this, he'll fall behind Bob Handley.
So we have a seesaw battle here in our very, very first game. A tough one for both professionals. A lot of it still left, as you see. 7-pin lead by Bob Handley. We'll be back. Beaumont, Texas, they have a representative on tour. He's won 1 tournament. Mark Williams finished 3rd overall. He will meet the winner of this first game between Bob Handley and Charlie Tapp. Now it is Handley. Watch his style, sneaking up to the line. So he'll have to try and cover the 2-8 now on the right lane.
Handley just doing everything he can to get the ball to come up into the pocket. But watch the action of the head pin. It'll go to the sideboard, and then it will drive out the 4 and 7, but leave the very difficult 2-8. Handley has to hit the pins flush to carry out the back 8 pin. That's the danger spot. He needs to convert this to maintain a 5-pin lead.
Interesting shot, just the way Bob sees it. And the former history teacher. A little anxious moment right there. 5 pins now separating these two. And Bob moves over to the left side. The other pinfall that you're hearing is Mark Williams practicing for the next game.
Handley's average on the championship pair, a miserable 175. So he struggled a little bit on this pair, but he has this match with a 5-pin lead, 8th frame.
Nelson and I would like to extend an invitation to all of you to join ABC tomorrow afternoon for live coverage at 2:30 Eastern of the Baltimore Stars versus the Houston Gamblers at the Astrodome in Houston, Texas.
Jim Kelly with Houston is just red hot, Chris, the leading quarterback in USFL. But we're here in Baltimore, and I was watching a lot of the news. They feel that the Stars are going to upset the Gamblers tomorrow.
And from South St. Paul, Minnesota, we have a 2-pin lead by Charlie Tapp, who gets a little of that perspiration off the brow. And Chuck Fusina, Bo, former Penn State quarterback, is another good one. Very competitive runner and thrower.
Tap for the spare. Straight down the middle.
Charlie Tapp, who has been doing some broadcasting in Minneapolis. In fact, has done quite a bit of work for our ABC radio affiliate there, KSTP. And he hopes to start a regular talk show along the way. He can talk.
Comical Charlie Tapp. Right now he's going for the big bucks. It's coming down to the critical frames, the 9th and 10th frames. Just 5 pins separate these two players.
Well, he's seen that 10-pin before on the left lane.
Might as well use yours.
Charlie Tapp with the fairly good conventional type release. Watch how his hand stays behind the ball, and watch how he drives through that release area with his pivot, step, and slide. Now here he comes. Look at that arm staying in close to the body. Look at that wrist snap through the ball. Good counterclockwise rotation with the hand.
That shot, we bow to our technical and production people. The camera on the ball return gave you that shot. I guess we could call it the sleuth. Tiny, tiny camera. All right. Now here's Bob Handley. He's shooting in the 9th frame, strike up, big shot. Just what he wanted. And he has a lot of rooters here in this capacity crowd at the Fairlanes Woodlawn in Baltimore.
Handley has put himself in a position where he can shut out Charlie Tapp. He needs to fill 15 pins here in the 10th frame to shut out Tapp. Tapp, the best he can get is 201. And Handley threw that ball in the 9th frame, one of the best shots we've seen all day. He sent it wide, got the maximum wrist action, and blew the pins out. A strike here, as the graphic says, would shut out Charlie Tapp.
There it is, Bob Handley. 3rd championship round appearance of the year. Wants to win this one badly. Well, one step closer, having defeated Charlie Tapp. We'll have the final score of this first match for you. Handley now will take on Mark Williams of Beaumont, Texas, after this.
Bowlers Tour. This ABC Sports exclusive is being sponsored by Miller Beer. Purity you can see, quality you can taste. Miller, made the American way since 1855. By Duracell, the copper top battery. When it comes to making them last longer, we never stop. And by Allstate, we insure your home, your car, your health, your business, and your life. You're in good hands with Allstate. We'll be back after this word and station identification.
9 a.m. live.
Now the customary and gentlemanly-like handshake before the match begins. Bob Handley in the striped shirt won the first match 215 to Charlie Tapp's 190. 5 strikes in that victory. So it's game number 2 for Handley. So in our head-to-head competition, it's very simple. You lose, you're out. Tapp, $5,000, shot a 190, Handley 215. So now the man that finished 3rd out of a field of 160, and after 42 games, Mark Williams steps onto the approach. Beaumont, Texas. Man that loves to practice, Bo.
Bowls a lot of games, Chris, and he works on his speed control and keeping that arm in close to his body.
6 foot 1 inch, 175-pound, 28-year-old professional, 6 years a pro. He has 1 victory. That was in the Waukegan Open.
He had an unusual game in the light open down in Miami. He bowled a 295 game. He started with 11 strikes, and on his final ball, he left the 4, 6, 7, 9, 10 split for 295. He told me the game before he bowled 281, so kind of some weird scores, but whenever you're that high, you're glad to have them. Watch the action of the head pin as it goes to the sideboard. This is the messenger shot, we call it out here in the tour. The head pin goes to the sideboard. There it comes back in action, rips out the 10. What a great break. Something you expect Bob Hanley to get with all his power. Mark Williams has a little bit in his bag, too.
Second frame strike up. Looked like we might be all even through 2 frames, but one pin, the 6 on the right lane.
This right-hand lane is the type of lane that will give Bob Hanley a lot of trouble. This championship pair, we said, the left lane hooks more, the right lane doesn't hook at all. But if he points the ball up, like Hanley did on that shot, it'll cross over. That's a difficult shot for him.
Bob Hanley, Pompano Beach, Florida.
The stalker with all that power, he likes to play almost the whole lane. He starts the ball from inside and goes all the way to the outside. But on the right-hand lane, he's forced to go somewhat down and in. So he should continue to hit this left-hand lane pretty well. If he could master the right-hand lane, he could be a threat.
Finished 5th here last year. No messenger on that shot, leaving the 10 pin.
Well, Hanley's just keeping the ball in play. He's not letting it get all out of play. But watch the action of the ball as it cuts through the pins. He's up here in the 1-3 zone. Now watch the ball go left over towards the 4 pin, the 7 pin, and watch the action in the left-hand channel. Boom, the 2 pin knocks out the 4-7. No luck on the 10.
You just joined us. Bob Hanley defeated Charlie Tapp in the first game, 215 to 190. Third place finisher Mark Williams now, his first match today, and he has a double up shooting in the 3rd frame.
Williams with a career championship round record of 5-2 in 3 appearances and averaging 218.9. That's pretty good in a championship round.
And then bowling brings you back to reality in a hurry.
Just too slow with this ball. It looks like it's in good position. Watch the ball. It looks like it's going to end up in the pocket. Then all of a sudden breaks very sharply, cuts right through the middle. He leaves the 2, 4, 6, 7 split. He needs to take the 3, 4, 6, 7. He needs to take the 3 pin and slide it over into the 4-7 zone. Cross lane.
All right. After a double, opening frame for Mark Williams of Beaumont, Texas, about 80 miles east of Houston. It's a coastal city.
Williams, here's the strategy he's going to use on the championship pair. The lanes are dry in the middle, so that's the center of the lane. There's lane's 42 inches wide, so he's going to play a swinging outside shot. And he's doing that very well on the left-hand lane. He was just a bit soft on the right-hand lane. Trails by 9, 4th frame.
Mark, great speed, and his 3rd strike in 4 frames. He's bowling Bob Hanley, who won our first match. More of our second game following this.
Look what's in store.
And here's a football fan, the professional bowler Bob Hanley. Spare up, shooting in the 4th. He could not believe the 4 pin.
Hanley, experienced player, power player. He's showing his experience right here. Instead of trying to hook the ball more on this right-hand lane, he went with more speed and directly down the right side. Didn't play the big hook, and that's the way he can win. If he goes hard and straight on the right and hooks the ball on the left, he has a chance to hit both lanes. The strategy that he planned to use is to swing the ball from the inside to out to about the 6th board. He's doing it on the left-hand lane. The right-hand lane he struggled on, except in that frame he went down and in. much like a straight ball shooter such as Durbin or somebody like that. Straight down the boards. On the left-hand lane, he's hooking it a lot.
8-pin lead, now shooting in the 5th frame. Beautiful start. 42 games, championship play, and you can reach the final 5. By round, here are the leaders.
Del Ballard. Monicelli had a 300-game. Bodler, Knipple, and then Wayne Webb came from 13th in the last round. The last 6 games averaged .238 and took over first place, going for back-to-back winners. He won last week's light championship. Webb going for 2 in a row. As you see, the elbow trying to be held in close to his body by Mark Williams.
And Mark in that field was able to manage 3rd, which meant that he did not have to open up as Hanley and Tapp did, and sometimes that's a break. But he looks extremely tense. I don't think I've ever seen Mark as tense as he is in this match.
He threw a double in the 10th frame of the 42nd game in a position round last night to move from 4th up into this 3rd posture. But Chris, you're right. He's just trying to aim the ball. He's a little bit tentative. But when you're bowling on a tough pair of championship lanes, you have a tendency to do that, to aim the ball.
Earlier, I mentioned that Mark loves to practice. We talked to him about his rigorous practice schedule.
I practice anywhere from 100 to 200 games a week. The main reason, I work on my arm swing. I seem to have a problem with my swing getting out of line more than most bowlers do. Also, I work on my ball speed. I have trouble with my ball speed being too slow in too many key situations.
A little bit of that soft Texas accent.
Well, at least he knows his own game.
Right. Strike on that high hit on the left lane. Mark Williams of Beaumont. Okay, now Handley has a strike up, and this is the 6th frame, 2nd game for him.
Let's see if he tries to overpower the lane or goes down and in with a straight shot with a lot of speed.
It's probably a time when he'd like to call his professional bowler wife, Mary Ellen, to find out.
Look at where this ball is, out about the 3rd or 4th board. Remember his strategy. He said he didn't want to go out past the 6th board, and then he breaks very sharply up into the 1-3 zone, but he doesn't get all the way up. If the ball had been a little closer before it started its break up on the 6th board where he wanted it, he would have been solid in the pocket. Needs a spare to maintain the lead.
Almost with a vengeance, the speed on the bucket. Wow. Spare in the 6th frame. And another close, relatively slow match here at the Fairlanes, Woodlawn in Baltimore. Not too far from Pimlico. And of course, the 2nd jewel of racing's Triple Crown is always contested there. Led off by the Derby the 1st Saturday in May. Both events televised by ABC. Going to leave live action for a moment because we're running behind our allotted schedule, but we'll bring you up to date when we return following this message. Right. The Fairlanes Open in Baltimore in the 7th frame with a strike up. Mark Williams of Beaumont, Texas, left to 5-pin, covered it successfully, trailing now by 8 pins. He is bowling Bob Handley, who won the first match 215 to Charlie Tapp's 190.
Chris, he's not keeping the ball speed up. We found over the years that the ideal ball speed is about 18 miles an hour. And right now, Mark Williams is around 15 or 16.
He picked up the tempo, the pace on that shot a little more than the previous one.
Here's that low shot, Chris, that we both like so much. You see the release and the arm swing position of Mark Williams as he drives down through. See that arm swing coming out away from his body. That's why he practices so much. Now watch how his hand stays behind the ball and then lifts right up through it. That inside-out release, not turning over the top of the ball, is what initiates the proper type of hook. Hanley to increase his lead to 18.
All right, let's see if on the right lane he uses the same amount of speed as he did on the left to cover the bucket. Boy, it was fast.
The 2nd time he has left the 2-4-5-8 on the right-hand lane. You see the ball just not biting on that part of the lane. That's just because the pine area from the 15 feet mark down the foot mark down the lane all the way to the 60-foot mark is not is dry or does not as hook as much as the left-hand lane. Hanley needs to convert this to maintain a lead.
Oh, yes. Bob Hanley, third championship round appearance of this year. It's hard to believe this is our 13th week in a series of 16 consecutive weeks live coverage of the best bowlers in the world here on ABC.
Here's where Hanley turned it on in his first match. He was about even or a few pins behind at this point against Charlie Tapp, and then he threw 3 consecutive strikes. Let's see what he does now.
How about that 6-pin? 4, 6, 7.
Hanley, who has led from the 3rd frame on, watch this shot. Hanley hits right in the middle, and he knocks down all the pins except the 4, the 7, and the 6-pin. Big trouble. He'll have to throw it as hard as he can.
So it's a telling open frame in, of all places, the ninth. 163 through 9 for Hanley. Williams now with a strike up and really put the clincher on. Leading by 7. Here's his shot now in the ninth.
Big shot. He took advantage of that open frame by Bob Hanley in the 9th frame. Mark Williams is now in a position where with a mark he can shut out Bob Hanley. Hanley, the best he can do is 193 right now. Williams is going at an even 200 pace. His speed control has not been very good, and he pays a maximum penalty here in the 10th frame. Watch the ball, how wide it is, almost out to the 2nd board. The ball comes back, he leaves the 2, 4, 8, 10. Now, there's 2 schools of thought on how to make this. Either throw hard and try to bounce a pin out of the channel or out of the pit area, or throw it real slow and super hook. And also, he should go for 9 here and not try to make it, unless he has a double up to force Hanley to throw a double. He should be going for 9, Chris.
Ooh. And what does he do? But gets them all. The conversion of the month.
Absolutely sensational. We have never had that made before in the championship round. And that's the strategy, as we're saying. There's 2 types of strategy. Throw it hard and bounce it out, or try to slide it over. Now he needs a good count to shut out Bob Hanley. If he gets 8 pins, he's the winner. 7, it gives Hanley the possibility of a tie. As Mark Williams reaches back for a piece of adhesive tape to tighten up that thumb hole. Good lesson to be learned right here is to keep that hole nice and tight, nice and comfortable, so you don't squeeze the ball under pressure.
Speaking of lessons, following this game, Bo will have a lesson for lady bowlers. Tip of the week. Mark Williams, finishing 3rd overall, stepped in for his first game, and he's a little disgusted with himself, yet with a 196, he's going to move on. Bob Hanley finishing. Strike coming a frame late as the winner is back there in the sort of burgundy shirt. We'll give you the final score. Williams has shot a 196, and he will meet Colorado Springs' Henry Gonzalez. We'll be back. We're approaching the semifinal game as we're live from Baltimore, Maryland at the Fairlanes Open, worth $20,000 to the winner. The flight board, well, you see the first 2 matches. Mark Williams, 196. Bob Hanley, 183 in a most unusual match. So now Williams will go against Henry Gonzalez from Colorado Springs, Colorado, and then Wayne Webb, the tournament leader. Coming up at 4:30 Eastern Time, ABC's Wide World of Sports. If you want to see a great fighter, don't miss today's Wide World of Sports. It is welterweight champion Donald Curry. He meets a tough opponent, a worthy opponent named James Green. Then for all the beauty, grace, of Figure Skating International Professional Figure Skating Championships. Ty Babylonia, Randy Gardner, Jojo Starbuck, and Ken Shelley. The best in the world will be competing at Madison Square Garden. Okay, now it's time for the tip of the week, and we salute you, lady bowlers. Nelson Burton will show you how to correct a commonly made mistake by ladies in bowling. Here he is.
This week, Nelson Burton Jr. begins a 3-week mini-series designed for women bowlers. Today, Nelson discusses how to avoid dropping your shoulders. Today's tip is being sponsored by Old Spice Aftershave and Cologne. Splash on the peeling. Splash on the Old Spice.
This week, we start a 3-week mini-series designed especially for the women. The first tip involves a mistake I see the women make most often, and that is bending too far forward at the waist, allowing their shoulders to go too far forward on their way to the foul line. What this causes is a weak, ineffective strike ball, dumping at the line, and often very sore hands. To remedy this problem that women have, keep your shoulders back, especially at the setup area. Keep your hand underneath the ball, supporting the weight of the ball in the palm of your hand, and go ahead and make a good, clean shot. Remember and practice part 1 of our 3-week mini-series. Keep those shoulders back and that hand underneath the ball.
Meanwhile, here in Baltimore, Henry Gonzalez will take a seat. He's going to watch his opponent, Mark Williams, throw the first shot. Gonzalez, who finished second behind the tournament leader, Wayne Webb, whom you'll see in the next match. Leaves the 10 pin. He had a 196 to Bob Henley's 193. At en route, had 7 strikes. Boy, there's a striking young lady. His wife, Carol Williams.
Carol Williams rooting for Mark to get his second victory in less than 12 months. He won his first title at Waukegan, beating his good friend Peter McCordick 257 to 157 in the championship match, a 100-pin victory. Williams for the 10-pin.
Fair, very first frame for this Texan. Now from Colorado Springs. Soon to be bowling proprietor, he hopes, Henry Gonzalez. Likeable fellow that we've known a long time. He's 34 years old, 5 feet 8 inches tall, 2 titles in 11 years. Oh, he has almost a waltz step going to the line.
Has a bit of hesitation in his delivery, and has a little hesitation in his hook right here on the right-hand lane. He has the same problem that we have seen everybody have today in the championship round. Not enough finish or hook on the right-hand lane. But Henry's got the type of style that he can handle it. He can go straighter up towards the pocket, and it actually favors his type of game.
Just didn't come up, and what a way to open his first game today.
Boy, you can just see how slick these lanes are. He tries to get over in the 2-8 zone to knock out the 2-4-7-8. The ball slides by, and he has a 7-pin count opening frame. Very tough start for Henry Gonzalez. Henry, by the way, is not eligible for the Firestone Tournament of Champions, where he was the tournament leader a couple years ago and lost to the eventual champion, Joe Berardi.
And again, sliding by. 1, 2, 4.
That wine-colored ball that Henry Gonzalez is using is a polyurethane ball, as is the black ball that Mark Williams is using is also polyurethane ball, as opposed to what we call the plastic or polyester balls. These both balls are supposed to hook a little more crisp, but these lanes look very slick today. Henry will go across the lane, try to get the ball over in the 1-2 zone to knock out the 4.
So with 7 pins in the first frame, likable Henry Gonzalez marks with a spare in the second. And up is Williams, leading by 13, shooting in the second frame. Had a victory over Bob Henley, 196 to 183. Waukegan Open.
That's where he beat his friend McCordick. Is you see the Official scorer Harry Golden sitting there keeping score. He beat McCordy 257 to 157, the championship game.
They have toppled strangely here today.
What a good break. Watch the action of the head pin. It goes to the sideboard. And look, it takes out the 4. The 4 takes out the 2-8, avoids a split. It has a very simple spare of the 10 pin to maintain a 12-pin lead.
Not a game for the faint-hearted. But consistency in marking. Let's replay a profile view of his stroke.
5-step delivery by Mark Williams. He has that very short push away and shoulder-high arm swing, but notice how everything is perpendicular to the foul line. Then watch his foot here as he drives through in his pivot step and slides all the way up within 3 inches of the line.
Beautifully done. Very little reaction on his part facially, is there? Well, we have 3 stops remaining on the 24th season of the Professional Bowlers Tour, the Old Spice Classic, Garden City, Long Island, and then to the Pat Boone Open, Windsor Locks, Connecticut, and the prestigious Firestone Tournament of Champions is the 16th tournament of the year.
And here's a man who needs a win to show up there at Akron. Sam Zurich is on the bubble.
And Henry, who has many fans all over the country, leaves the 4-7-10.
Henry is adjusting to that shot in the first frame that slid by the head pin, points the ball or aims it up more towards the 1-3 zone. He overcompensated, leaves a very difficult 4-7-10 split. Odds for the pro 7-1, and it's a little tougher for a right-hander to get the ball over in that 4-7 zone than it is for a left-hander. Henry will go for it.
Yes. Tough break, the second open frame. Let's take a look at that hesitation step in his approach.
Henry takes out a big first step, and then look at he just drags or stops right there in the middle of his approach. He drags that left foot through to set up his timing because his push away was a little late and his first step is a little too long. He sets it up, and his last 2 steps are absolutely perfect. Right now he's struggling. He has a reasonably good line on his left-hand lane, but struggling on the right.
And Henry, who had his last win in 1979, the Southern California Open now, has to try shooting a trio of pins on the right side of the left lane, 3-6-10.
The man who started bowling when he was in the service at Fort Carson and who graduated from Santa Monica College with a mechanical engineering degree is in trouble.
Father of 3, Henry Gonzalez, who's trailing by 26. His opponent is Mark Williams, who won the last game over Bob Handley. We'll be back. Oh, that's a nifty shot of the overhead score sheet here at the Fairlanes Woodlawn in Baltimore. Mark Williams, bowling next, has jumped off to a 26-pin lead, strike up. Crossing over, leaving the 3-6. Could have upped that lead another 10. But if you just joined us, he eliminated Bob Handley 196 to 183 with 7 strikes. Handley had opened up in our first game with a 215 to 190 win over Charlie Tapp of South St. Paul. Now, the winner of this game will meet Wayne Webb of Indianapolis, who won in Milwaukee last week. All right, with that spare, we go to Bo, and Wayne is with him.
Thank you, Chris. The man who's won more money than any other player on the Professional Bowlers Tour, Wayne Webb, since 1980. You've been the top dog, but you're going for 2 in a row here after winning the Light Championship last week. Any extra pressure?
No, not really. I'm just thinking about bowling this one. I'd take every week 1 at a time, and if I was to win this one, then it would be 2 in a row.
You almost missed the 10 pin, the Light Championship, in the 10th frame last week. You missed it 4 times this week. What are your thoughts going in the championship round if you happen to leave one?
Well, I practiced my 10 pin during practice. I had a little trouble with it all week. I don't know why. I guess maybe I'm a little psyched out about it because there was so much pressure on that one last week. But I don't plan on missing any today.
The tough, mean machine will be in the championship game in just a minute, Chris.
Okay, and he won 4 games last week, so this should be a breeze for him. Theoretically, that is. It's been tough for Henry Gonzalez. Williams with a strike in the 5th. Gonzalez spare up. Well, it took 5 frames for Henry Gonzalez of Colorado Springs to get his first strike.
Henry Gonzalez, the type of player that once he gets stringing them will keep the ball in the pocket. It's the most important for him to read the championship pair. He's cleaning off that ball, wiping off some of that conditioner so that the ball doesn't slide too much on this shot. Early in the match, this could be a pivotal frame. He trails by 26. He's been somewhat lost, but he could cut the lead of Williams down to 16 pins with a double.
The 2-5 on the left lane.
Henry just slides by, and what's happening, he's dropping his thumb over the top of the ball before he starts to lift it. We watched the release of Mark Williams and Bob Hanley in that low camera position. Right now, Henry Gonzalez is dropping his thumb too quickly, and that's causing the ball to slide too much, not bite enough, and naturally not score well.
Okay. Talking about his release, Bo, why don't we replay and get a closer look from our sleuth camera.
Here's a great lesson to be learned. Now watch his thumb. You see his thumb is right on top of the ball. Now watch as he comes down right here in this position. He's going to start turning the ball too quickly. Look at that thumb rotate around to about the 10 o'clock position, and he tops the ball, gets that spinner action, and it does not hook enough. Great shot, Chris. That is the reason that most amateurs have trouble on oily lanes. They turn the ball too quickly.
You know, we're very thankful that we have award-winning engineers at ABC, and they're always trying to come up with something new, as they did with that camera out on the just above the ball return. And sights and sounds of sports, as we have a re-rack, they're so important to bowling, and Jack Brandis and Sonny DeRico, our audio men, have cameras everywhere, so we have to be careful before we go on the air on what we say. 3-6-10 for the leader in the semifinal game, Mark Williams.
Mark Williams, who commented about all the practice he does, especially for speed control, has had a little bit of problem with it today. Of course, you have to adjust to the lanes, and when you have tough lane conditions, as in tough golf conditions or any other sport, you have a tendency to be a little tentative and try to aim the ball. Williams, not taking advantage of that strike he had up in the 5th frame, needs to convert this to maintain a 26-pin lead.
Now remember, the winner of this game will bowl Wayne Webb, who will try for the 3rd time in his career to win back-to-back championships. And he is tough.
They better pick up the pace, whoever gets to bowl against Wayne Webb. Wayne is a no-nonsense champion, as we said, the #1 player in money winning since the decade of the 80s, almost $600,000.
Is that a solid one, Bo?
Well, we've seen it 2 weeks in a row, the solid 9. And why we see hits like this more often than we used to is that these urethane bowling balls hit the pins so hard that the pins almost have no resistance. Normally, a ball will deflect some when it hits the 1, 3, and 5 pins, but the surface tension and the porosity of a polyurethane ball is so much that it actually overpowers the pins. This just should not be, Chris.
Now, that will open the door somewhat for Henry Gonzalez.
Inexcusable to miss this single pin. This has to be the easiest pin for a right-handed bowler in the game of bowling. We know that Gonzalez can come back. He trails by 14. We'll be back after this.
Sports next.
Back at the finals of the Fairlanes Open, the semifinal match. Bowling very slow today. We're much beyond our allotted time. That's why in the 7th frame, Henry Gonzalez had a strike. Now he's left the 1, 2, 4, 10 on the left lane. Here's his attempt. Now, 3rd open in this game for the bowler from Colorado Springs. But remember, this man in the fuchsia, burgundy shirt, whatever shade you want to call it, he blew a 9-pin in the last frame, Mark Williams.
And he really is lucky to even still lead by 26. Henry Gonzalez, who has bowled so well all week, is just confused on the championship pair and has really let Mark Williams off the hook. Williams coming up 8th frame, 26-pin lead. Come on.
Carrying the RF mic, you heard him say, come on, with a little body English, not enough.
Just not favorable carry on the pins today. When a player is tentative and has to throw the ball slow at 15 or 16 miles an hour like Mark Williams is doing, he just does not get that big pin action that we see in other weeks where they can really cut it loose. Now he has to be careful on this one. A single pin we would think is almost automatic for the pros, but we saw a number of them, have seen a number of them miss this year.
Great preparation for that shot and carefully marked with a spare in the 8th frame of our semifinal game. The winner of this will meet really a tremendous competitor, Wayne Webb.
The situation for Mark Williams is very simple. He leads by 26 pins. He's going at a 187 pace. Henry Gonzalez, the best he can do is 181. So Williams has to keep his count up. A good count, 7 or better on each ball, and fill in the 9th and 10th frames, then he would be the winner. If he has an open, Gonzalez can still win.
No. Well, he'll say yes now. So will Carol, his wife. That's crossed over more than any strike I've ever seen.
Well, Chris, that shot was just almost unique. The players out here call it an RBF. That's a reverse blow in 5, where the ball is going away from the center of the pin so much that actually the 2-pin takes out the 5-pin instead of the ball.
Ninth frame strike. They have been elusive for Henry Gonzalez today. He had only 2 prior to that.
Henry still has a chance to win, but he must strike on this ball. If he does not strike here, Mark Williams is the winner. Now, Henry really has to reach down deep because he hasn't even been close on this left-hand lane. Look at the 2nd frame. He was in trouble. He got a spare. He got a spare in the 4th and the 6th, and he had an open washout in the 8th. He must just cut it loose. He needs this strike.
No way he can hear Nelson Burton Jr.'s comments, but Bo, he did what you wanted him to do.
By far his best shot, right when he needed it the most. He fired it in there solid in the 10th frame. With this strike, he'll force Mark Williams to mark and fill the 10th frame. Once again, Gonzalez, if he does not strike, will not win the match.
That's 2 in a row on that left lane. Coming on strong, his opponent, all he can do is look away and wait, because he still has the 10th frame.
The count here for Henry Gonzalez is really not that important. He just must get about, let's see, 5 pins here, and he'll force Mark Williams to fill the 10th frame. And as we've seen the scoring low today, a mark or a spare is not automatic.
All right. Stronger finish than certainly the start and the middle portion of this semifinal game, and Henry Gonzalez. Mark Williams now.
As Carroll looks on, what Mark Williams needs is a strike, and then he's an automatic winner, or a spare and 4 pins.
Gonzalez shot a 180. Relieving some of the tension that husband and wife showed on the last shot of both. Well, that will help him, certainly.
All he has to do is just keep it in the building. He's right now going at a 197 pace. Just stay behind the foul line, hit the head pin. He's the winner. That's it.
So Mark Williams of Beaumont, Texas, has reached the finals of the Fairlane Open. Our live coverage from Baltimore. The next match, Wayne Webb, tournament leader, taking on Williams. Don't go away. It'll be exciting after this. Live coverage of the Fairlanes Open in the Woodlawn section of Baltimore, Maryland. Wayne Webb, our tournament leader, will meet Mark Williams because of Williams' 194-180 victory over Henry Gonzalez. Webb continues to practice. So we'll give you a look at what happened to the top 24 out of that field of 160.
Average 216 to make the top 24. 53rd place, 210 average. Paid $810 to Larry Lobb. A 160-man field. The whole field averaged 206, a good scoring tournament. And here's some of the other top 24s. Sam Macaron and Soper just lost the championship, our position round game last night. Baker, Ballard, red hot Bellinger. Jerry Kessler, the big guy from Nebraska. Mark Baker's been hot this year. Editorial writer Bill Spigner up there. Bob Werner, leader. Knippel. Walter Ray Williams, the horseshoe player, Forrest. Mike Durbin, our statistician. A 300 for Monicelli. Duke. Sakara also had a 300. Straight shooter Gary Dickinson, Bornhop, and Casey Berry round out the 24. They're ready to go, Chris.
All right. The exact height of the trophy to be presented at the end of this game is Wayne Webb, 5 feet 5 inches tall. Won last week in Milwaukee. Mark Williams here in the final by virtue of his 194-180 win over Gonzalez. Williams eliminated Bob Hanley to get to that spot. Williams would like victory 3 today. 3 games. This man has only 1 game and a shot at the 20,000 and the trophy. Wayne Webb, who picked up his 15th career win in Milwaukee just 1 week ago, as we get a look at his last shot. And watch his animation following this. Okay.
And his opponent was Marshall Holman. And of course, we saw Marshall do that to Wayne down in Venice, Florida at the U.S. Open. So getting even time. Wayne Webb, he's tough. He's won this tournament one other time, 1981.
And we want you to concentrate on his line. He was so near the channel that anything could happen, but he is open with a double. Williams had a strike in the first, now shooting in the second.
Averaging 192, and he's still bowling for the title. The field average today is only 193. And Chris, the bowling center had an option of using 2 different pairs of lanes here today, and they opted for 15 and 16, which has always been a tough scoring pair.
Hit leaving the 3-6.
The reason 15 and 16 are tough, very simply, the way the boards are laid in the lane make the pine area very difficult to control. The right-hand lane being tight, the left-hand lane hooking more. And in 1983, we used lanes 13 and 14. We saw Art Trask throw 9 in a row, almost a 300 game. So in any bowling center, any pair of lanes can be either hot or cold.
No.
Major problem for Mark Williams. He has gotten by with a few mistakes in his earlier matches, but against Wayne Webb, you just cannot afford an open frame like this in the early going. He's already 22 pins down, coming up the 3rd frame, going against the man who has won more money than any other player in the 1980s, Wayne Webb. Currently ranked number 3, Wayne Webb is. He could jump to number 1 after today's performance.
Beautiful recovery by Mark Williams of Beaumont, Texas. Bo earlier referred to money won in the 1980s. And Webb, of course, leads over $500,000. And we're only in 1985.
And here's the man who is ranked number 1 in the world ranking this year, Holman, with 2nd. He'll drop to 2nd place in the rankings after today.
So to that man that was in the top spot in the 80s money earned, he has left the 4-6 7.
Wayne Webb just trying to put away Mark Williams right here. He went right for it, and he goes right through the middle, the 4-6-7 split. He'll just try to knock down the 4-7 and save pin count.
All right, it's an open frame. Tournament leader, Wayne Webb.
Wayne Webb, 5 feet 5 inches tall, takes a 5-step delivery. He locks his eyes on that target, has a fairly high backswing to initiate enough inertia to drive through and get that powerful inside-out release. Notice how his hand doesn't even turn around the ball. He has that inside-out release, which imparts that counterclockwise spin.
And he has left the 7-pin, the man with less moving parts in his swing than most of the professionals.
Real good point, Chris, and I think that's one of the reasons he is that good, as he leads the solid 7. We saw a solid 9 earlier by Mark Williams on this left-hand lane. Now we see a solid 7. Not a good break for the pros. Wayne Webb with that great natural ability, Chris. You know that's number 1 in all sports.
Okay. Wayne Webb of Indianapolis, originally from Rehoboth, Massachusetts, has a 7-pin lead in our championship game here in Baltimore. We'll be back. Only 7 pins separating the 2 professionals here in the final game. Williams, who has 2 victories already today, now has a strike up. He can take the lead. No, the 2-8-10.
Chris, he just has to make a different type of shot on the right-hand lane. As you see, the 2-8-10, he tried throwing the ball much, much slower than any of his shots to try to get it to hook back and go into the pocket. He has to move to the right and throw the ball harder and straighter. In the 2 previous games, he's only had 2 strikes, 1 in each game. So he is definitely struggling. There's the kind of shot he needs for his first ball right there. Hard and straight.
So leaving the 8-10, it's an open frame when he really had an opportunity to jump all over the tournament leader, Wayne Webb. Now, instead of leading by 3, trails by 21.
As we said, Wayne Webb will end up being ranked number 1 in the world after this week's performance. One reason, Holman and Pete Weber, who are 1 and 2, did not play this week. Neither did Mark Roth, Don Janelle, or Gary Skidmore.
More speed on that shot.
Plus, the left-hand lane will hook back for him. And knowing Wayne Webb, that great natural ability and the instinct, he knows what to do on the right-hand lane. This has been the lane that has killed everybody. Webb will not try to hook the ball more. As you see the little green machine sign on the back of his shoes, he'll go hard and straight.
And hits the head pin, leaving the 3-6-10.
Which he did not do. He did not go hard and straight. He tried going straight down and in. That's the first thing you must do. Then increase the speed so that the ball doesn't go high and holds its position down there in the 1-3 zone. This is where accuracy and speed control, 2 of the 2 main facets of this sport, come into play on the right-hand lane.
Wayne Webb, 27 years old. Earlier, we talked to him about his involvement with the game of bowling.
I started bowling at age 3, throwing the ball between my legs. Then I went on to the junior leagues. At age 12, I was averaging 186, went into the men's league, and at age 18, I turned professional.
What a professional.
Charlie Tapp just stopped by, who was in our first match. He says, unbelievable how tough this pair is today.
With the win today, Wayne Webb can total $95,430, getting close to that 100,000 mark, which he earned last year, 100,540, 1 of 8 on the Professional Bowlers Tour.
Said Mark Williams defeated his good friend Peter McCordick in Waukegan for his only title. There's a little reciprocity in this game, too, where Pete McCordick in a regional tournament beat Mark Williams in Albuquerque, New Mexico the same year, 290 to 279 in a championship match. So all's even between those 2 friends.
All right, here we have it again, the 2-8-10.
2, 8, 10, you just cannot play a lane wrong and try to score effectively on it. It's very similar, Chris, to trying to take a putt in golf that is a downhill breaking to the left and try to hit it hard and straight into the hole. Sure, every once in a while it'll go in the hole, but half the time it'll end up in the sand trap. And that's where Mark Williams is right now.
2 in a row.
Trying a backup shot.
Not going to love lane 16. Ooh.
That backup shot is a little more innovative by Mark Williams. That's reminiscent of a bowling tip we had this year of shooting that left-handed. Now, the pros can do that because we're bowling in the PBA Association, but the amateur bowlers are controlled by the American Bowling Congress, the ABC, and they cannot switch hands in the middle of league or in the same league.
Oh, that was a 7th frame shot, and he'll take that strike, his 4th of this game. Mark Williams, who won 2 matches over Bob Handling 196 to 183, and then over Gonzalez 194 to 180. For this man, it's his first game as the tournament leader. Using just a short portion of the approach, his footwork is interesting.
Not only does Wayne Webb spot the arrows like the great Don Carter, but he has footwork very similar to Don Carter. He slides way behind the foul line. Look at this. He is about a foot behind the foul line, and his ankle turns a little bit after he releases the ball. If he was in that position before he released the ball, his body would be out of position. Wayne Webb, a commanding lead, can extend it to 50 pins with 1 more strike. And as we saw him last week, Chris, stop after his 2nd step when he just kind of loses that ball on the downswing.
It's good presence, though, to do it if something's bothering you.
You're right there. He could win the match with this shot.
Pin.
He liked the shot when he let it go, but no good break. A solid 10. Wayne Webb, once again, in that live interview, we talked to him about making the 10-pin. He's missed 4 of them this week. He almost missed the one to give the title to Holman last week. He said he's a little psyched out of it, but he predicted he will not miss it today. Let's see what happens.
This year, he's been 1st, 2nd twice, and 5th once. 5th television appearance during the Professional Bowlers Tour.
And there's Paul Mahon, president of the ABC, the American Bowling Congress, the ruling body of amateur bowling, here in the audience today, and definitely has an influence over the 8 to 9 million sanctioned women and men bowlers in the country. Baker taking a gamble, jumping to that extreme outside line, almost sent it off into the gray border of the moat, but that's the only chance he has. He's so far behind, he needs all strikes. He gave it a lot of room, and it almost slid off. Look at this. Now look at where this ball is. It's all the way out, almost on the edge. Tries to get it back, but not to be. Slides by the 2-pin. What a major problem he has now. Here's how slick these lanes really are. Look at this ball, trying to bite, trying to bite. Remember, this is a urethane bowling ball. We know they hook. It just will not bite that surface, just like floating on a bed of ice, like a hockey puck sliding across the rink.
Conditions are different every week for these professionals, and it's just another reason you have great admiration for them, because you can get your dauber down in a hurry when things aren't working with your stroke on a particular pair. What happened there was the noise of the ball coming up on the return. Just the slightest thing in any competitive sport will break concentration. But wisely, he stepped away. Another evidence of slickness, Bo.
Well, I got to empathize with the players, but they're going to win a lot of money. This could be the lowest scoring championship round at match of the year. I think coming into here, the lowest we had was the something light open down in Miami where the players averaged just about 190. I think just a pinch under for the 8 games. Right now they're going at a 193 pace, but that's going to drop if they don't get some strikes here at the end.
See that ball hook at the last minute?
That's what makes them so tough.
Wow.
It's spotty out there. When one ball starts in an area like the 2-8 where we saw Mark Williams slide by, and then here comes Wayne Webb. He says, well, it's slick there. I saw Williams' ball slide by. He goes right straight for him, and it hooks too much. But he does have a commanding lead.
Though it's difficult for the professionals, for the average amateur, it would be disaster, wouldn't it?
Sometimes they're better off. They just throw it down the middle.
Okay. Wayne Webb, almost disbelief that it hit the pocket, has defeated Mark Williams, who won 2 games. Wayne Webb, back-to-back victories, Milwaukee, and now here in Baltimore, becomes the leading money winner of 1985.
The Professional Bowlers Tour. This ABC Sports exclusive has been sponsored by Kentucky Fried Chicken. It's cooked the Colonel's special way, so it's always tender and juicy bite after bite. Kentucky Fried Chicken, we do chicken right. By Stetson, because there's a little bit of Stetson in every man. Stetson fits. And by the Champion Spark Plug Company. Champion Copper Plus Spark Plugs for your car, boat, or motorcycle, because nothing sparks like a Champion.
For Wayne Webb, the winner, the easiest part of the day. Back-to-back, he's shot less than 200, yet has won 2 tournaments. And Wally Hall, president of Fairlanes Incorporated, gives him the replica of that 5'5" trophy, a permanent trophy, thankfully, says Wayne. He now has won $95,000 on the tour, with 3 more tournaments on our telecasts remaining. So we would like to invite you to stay tuned for ABC's Wide World of Sports, because today you'll see undefeated welterweight champion Donald Curry move up a weight class to challenge junior middleweight James Hard Rock Green live from Dallas, Texas. Plus, you'll see skating's best pairs compete in dynamic skating competition at the International Professional Figure Skating Championship in New York City. Travel arrangements made during a promotional fee paid by United Airlines. United flies more people to Hawaii than any other airline. Nobody knows Hawaii like United. This has been a presentation of ABC Sports. Final score, Webb 196, Williams 150.